our main task, we are work package 5, we have the methodological work package, and we do mainly two things, both in the direction of improving the methodology that is used to run retrospective observational studies on real-world data and to simulate new data starting from real-world data. So the first thing we will attempt to do will be to take the current techniques for running retrospective observational studies and taking all the advantages and removing the disadvantages of a particular family of techniques that are called propensity score matching techniques that give you a fantastic control on the populations you use to get your results, but they're semi-automatic, which means that the researcher needs to spend time and look at the calculations until they converge and they give you the sensible solution that they can give you, but they need human intervention. Now, what we want to do is we want to remove this manual bit and let the calculation run themselves. And this is important because by doing so, we can allow retrospective studies at scale. So you have lots of medications, lots of outcomes of interest. Well, at the moment, either you forgo full control on the exact data set you're using, or you do it by hand. Now, what we want to do is we want to remove it by hand and allow institutions who have access to large amounts of data to run all these studies in parallel in a quicker way, and then obviously they can go further in and improve on the promising results they may see. The other aspect we focus on is a simulation. So in a study, especially in a real-world study, you may find something interesting in some part of the population. So for instance, old people show some improvement, something important from the point of view of making inference. But in your data set, you're limited by what you can see in terms of how many people you can see who have this particular condition. Now, what we want to do is we want to develop and improve methods to simulate more patients that look exactly the same, the real patient, in terms of their probabilistic mathematical properties, so that even though we started from a small amount of very interesting people, we can now magnify their number, and in doing so magnify the effect we see when we run the calculations, and so make our semi-hidden effects more apparent. Both are tasks based on the methodology, and the way you build new methodological tools is you learn from what is there and attempt to take bits and pieces that you like from each method, and then invent your own glue to link them all together. And so this is what we're doing right now. So we are studying all the methods for retrospective studies. We have identified some common features that the ones we like have, and some other common features, the ones that we don't really want to use also have, and that we want to import in the type of models we want. And so what we're doing now is we are studying where these models break, so when they are not useful anymore to us, so that we can take a bit from another model and fix that mistake there, so that we can have one single pipeline that goes from the data to the result. And that is the bit about the retrospective studies. In terms of the simulation models, we have just now finished taking a survey of how simulation models are being used in diabetes literature. And again, the clinical problem, that is diabetes research, is what drives methodological innovation in our case. And so we need to see what other people are interested in, so that we can build the mass that can bridge the gap between what can currently be done and what seems to be the interest, the area of interest, and we want to do the calculation to get from here to there by the end of the project. There are a few challenges. So there are technical challenges in that these methods to run the retrospective observational studies have been known for a long time. And if it were easy, it would probably already have been done. However, what we are hopeful in is that the reason why it hasn't been formalized is not that it is impossible, because it is obviously not. We can do it, of course, is that the advent of artificial intelligence and the techniques that go with that has not been completely, let's say, taken on board by the specific field of study that deals with this methodology. And so it's probably a case of a need that wasn't really apparent. That is, running studies at scale is not something that is necessary, because as long as the studies are correct, it's not absolutely crucial that you can run them at scale. But we are engineers, so we are from a department of engineering, and so engineers deal with problems. And the problem is that industry, or even health agencies, might want, and they do want, to keep medications in check, for instance. And to do that, they would obviously benefit from a quicker way to do it that it is still correct. And this is one point. The other bit is that we face, as usual, when we introduce new methodologies or even just slight changes that, however, change the output or the context in a disproportionately larger way, is that we need to make the community, the scientific community, accept what we do. And in order to do that, this is especially true for the simulation, we are focusing on models that have a graphical interpretation. Because as engineers, what happens is that we do the maths checks out, everything is correct, but it's hard to convey to the clinical partners, so to physicians and to clinical researchers, that this is actually working, that it is doing what they want to do. And so our focus for the simulations is a method that is called dynamic Bayesian networks. And they're great because they're Bayesian, so probability theory is great, everything works out, but also they output graphs. And so doctors can see arrows linking clinical variables to each other. And so the moment they see our simulator in terms of this graph, they can say, oh yeah, the simulator makes sense because these arrows are in the right direction, all the variables are connected the way I expect. Or they can say of another simulator, no, this relationship is not correct, please go back and redesign it. Or simply, I don't trust the simulator, let's call someone else, let's do something different because this problem maybe is not apparent from the data.